Now, when we're talking about large wilderness blades, 9.5, 10-inch knives, there's two things that you see a lot: high carbon steels and heavy weight. We're talking 1095, 5160, and they usually weigh over a pound, between 16 and usually about 25 ounces, what you can expect for a knife of that size. That's why I'm really excited today to introduce you to the H&K with collaboration of Benchmade Faint. Now, feint is a French word that has to do with sword fighting and knife fighting, which basically means a fake out maneuver, like huh, phew. Now, this knife definitely has a combat knife, tactical knife feel to it, but I also believe that this has the capability to be a great lightweight, larger camp knife. The reason for that is that it is 9.5 inches long, but it weighs in at 11 ounces, so it's super lightweight. And we're gonna talk about all that today. But the other aspect is that it's stainless steel, and there's very few 9.5-inch stainless steel knives out there on the market. For some of you, I believe you're getting kind of tired of having to babysit your high carbon steels from rust on a regular basis. So I really hope you guys are just as excited as I am to get out here and see what this H&K Faint can do. So let's go ahead and get to it. Overall length on the knife is 14.5 inches. From handle to tip, we're looking at 9.5 inches, and then the actual cutting edge is going to be 8.375 inches long. Now, the thickness on the spine is going to be 0.18, so 3/16 of an inch thick. It does have a 90-degree spine that will throw sparks, so that's nice to have. You are looking at a good saber grind all the way along the blade. All right, so how about the performance on this knife? What are its capabilities? What are its limitations? Let's talk tactical first. All right, giant recurve hemp rope. Let's see how it does. Oh, like nothing. A lot of these big blades don't cut rope very well. This one, like nothing, man. Yeah, that's awesome. That's one of the best knives I've seen fixed blades cut through this that fast. Wow. Zip tie right here. This is heavy duty. I've tried like 3 other folders on this and have not been able to do it. So we'll see if this H&K can make some work of it. Oh yeah. It's because again of that recurve accelerates that cut, and with the 9.5-inch blade, makes going through that zip tie. That's the first knife. I've tried like 5 knives on this thing. This is the first knife to go through that with one cut. That is awesome. From what I've seen with this knife, the 11.1 ounces, the great traction that they give you on the handle, the great blade shape with the slight recurve is not only going to give you amazing stabbing and penetrating capabilities, that would go right through somebody, but also slashing, rope cutting, nylon rope cutting, even accelerated through many different materials that I was actually shocked and surprised with. This has not only got a great fine edge, but it's going to have that ability to be used as that large tactical knife. Absolutely a large fighting knife that gives you a lot of reach. The other thing I love is this finger choil. Just how they've designed everything makes it so that I can get up close and personal and really use this almost all day if I want to, and it just feels so comfortable in my hand, no hot spots, and I can really get finer bushcraft style notches and triggers and that type of stuff, feather stick making done with, again, a 9.5-inch knife, where a lot of other bigger blades would be just too cumbersome and I wouldn't enjoy it. I want to throw it down and get a smaller knife. I can basically make this almost a one-tool option in the idea that it feels like a much more smaller, compact knife when I'm using it in the woods. Now, what about the chopping though? Again, 11.5 ounces. The handle doesn't have quite the hook that you would expect, from bigger knives out there, say like the SP line from Ontario, the Becker line from K-Bar, or something like the SE Hungalis or the RTAC 2 from Ontario. And those knives easily have almost 10 ounces of weight on this knife.
Nothing in your handle is not. Dude, I'm telling you, it chops as good as a lot of quarter-inch blades. Look at that! Wow! 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 Wow!
Well, what really surprised me is that though it doesn't have quite the handle that I would prefer for chopping, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a moment and why that is, but because of the slight recurve in the blade, and it does give me the grip I need to stay in so I don't have to constantly be resetting, I'm actually shocked at how well this thing chopped. No, it's never going to chop as well as the other items that I just listed to you, but you run up any other 11 to 12 ounce knife in your repertoire, this thing I believe would out-chop it easily. And finally with batoning, you know, with that 3/16 of an inch thick spine, saber grind, I can span rather large logs. And that drop point isn't gonna damage my batoning stick as much as say a clip point blade would. And the 440C steel is super tough. I was never worried about it snapping, breaking through all the different logs that we went through. And honestly, this is going to be able to baton anything your BK9 could baton. So in conclusion, when it comes to either tactical use, fine detailed work, batoning and splitting, this thing's got it nailed down. And though it's not a monster chopper, when it comes to lightweight or medium material, this thing's going to chop right through it. And finally, as we come to the end of the performance, I want to talk to you about the 440C steel that they're using. As I said earlier, a lot of people balk at the 440 number, but 440A and 440C are totally different. And then in that range, 440C, it really is determined by who is baking the cake. In other words, this 440C steel is like the ingredients for a cake, and then it's up to the producer to mix those things and cook them well. You turn up the heat too much, you're going to burn your cake. You turn it down too low, and it's going to be soggy and wet. Well, Benchmade knows what they're doing with 440C. And in fact, up until very recently, Benchmade has sold many of their knives in 440C and have performed very well. And I myself have used 440C on many knives. And when it's made usually by a US company, which of course Benchmade is, they know what they're doing. So not only are you going to get a lot more toughness than you would be getting out of, say, a stainless steel like AUS 8 or even a lot of times 154 CM, this 440C is going to be extremely tough. But because of the way that they did the heat treat, I'm also able to get a really good fine razor sharp edge, as you saw in the video here, being able to even go through zip ties when many of my other finer edged knives couldn't do that. So when it comes to the 440C steel, I'll tell you, I would put this blade with its edge retention and toughness up against any 1095 or 5160, and it would definitely hold its own against any of those blades. And this 440C is just so rust resistant, I don't even have to worry about it. All I have to do, wipe off this snow, don't even have to oil it, and I will not have any rust showing up on this blade. All right, let's look at the handle and how does the handle perform for such a large knife. So this handle is 5 inches from front to back, has a maximum thickness of 1.1 inches on that kind of big palm swell there, and then you got kind of a narrower neck and a narrow flare out the back. This is a full tang construction all the way through. You can see the tang through the lanyard hole, which is always a good plus. And the material that they're using is, I believe, like a cipoline, I think is what the word was. It's a poly, propylene material, rubberized material that has very good texturing and good grip along the sides. It's not slick at all. I don't know if that's getting picked up in the film, but very good high traction on the handle itself. So the one negative is the length of the handle. With only that 5 inches, it doesn't give me kind of that back grip that I would prefer or like when chopping. It's decent when chopping, and part of that also is the weight. You know, at 11 ounces, I mean, you're just not going to get the weight crashing into wood like you would on a Hungalis or on a Becker BK9. So this is decent at chopping, and it will stay in your hand for a considerable amount of time because of the traction, and they do give you that little bit of a flare out there. So there is enough grip. I just would have liked to see this handle more around like the 6-inch length, and then that that not only would be better for people with larger size hands, but it would have just given me a little bit more real estate to work with when it does come to chopping. This handle doesn't make me love this knife any less. It's just a little awkward and I would have liked a little bit more. All right, time to talk about the worst part that I hate about this knife. This sheath, guys, is horrendous. We have a very lightweight nylon that they kind of, I mean, they did an okay job in the presentation, so to speak, but we have no drainage hole that I'm aware of. We do have this large nylon loop, but we have huge rattle, clunks around like crazy. We do have a button snap right here, but it's just, it feels so flimsy. We just have a very thin plastic liner that is huge. I mean, this thing is just flopping around like crazy. At this price point, I would have liked to see something just a little bit more durable than what we're seeing here. So this thing, it's freaking garbage. Okay, how about the price point on this knife? We're looking at a price point of about $90. Sometimes you can find it for about 85 to 90 bucks. So we're looking at basically the same cost as a BK9 or like an RTAC 2. So for that price point, it's very reasonable, you know, under $100, you're getting this large stainless steel knife that is definitely, I believe, fitting a niche that the BK9 or like the RTAC 2 don't. Mostly in its fast quickness in hand as a large tactical blade, but also at doing the finer, more detailed tasks better than either of those other knives I just listed. So for a USA made 9.5 inch 440C stainless steel knife with the materials that we're looking at here today, I think that around $90 is a very reasonable price. I wouldn't pay much more than that, but at 90 bucks, you're hitting a very decent price. So in conclusion, how do I feel about this Feint? And honestly, while I was recently out with my buddy Peter, we were doing a bunch of tests and we were talking about just how the knife is performing. We just kind of really stumbled upon my feelings towards this blade.
That profile is sick.
I'm really digging this knife, man. See this too, okay. So if I use this more as my light clearing, more like, you know, branches and stuff, and then I got my, you know, Bajo Laplander or whatever to saw through most stuff, you know, and then if I have to, I can use this as backup. Man, this is a backpacker blade for sure, man.
That's really it, guys. I really believe that this is, if you will, a backpacker blade. Because when I'm backpacking, I'm counting every single ounce. And I'm always in this struggle with wanting to take a large blade for its capabilities, but always having that huge amount of weight with it, and that constant trade-off is always a struggle for me when I'm planning out my backpacking trips and planning out my loadout. This really eliminates some of that hassle and some of that headache. I get all of the capabilities of a 9.5 inch knife, not only for spanning wood and batoning, but also delimbing and light chopping, and still even do finer and more detailed work. And it frees up several ounces that I can either lighten my entire pack or put towards something else. So there you have it. I think it's a great trade-off. You are losing a little bit of capability with not quite the power that you would maybe get with some of those larger knives we've talked about today, but you're still getting a lot of capability. And I believe it's also useful in that large tactical format as well. If you are needing that pig sticker, or you just want that 9.5, you know, amount of reach, and you want it to be just so fast, so lightweight, and give you great traction, this H&K offers that. And it does it at a reasonable price and with stainless steel that in my mind is holding up fantastic and is very tough, very doable, just a great field steel that isn't gonna rust on me like a lot of my high carbons. So is the Feint a perfect knife? No way, Jose. I mean, it does come to the handle, as I've talked about, wishing for a little bit more, but I'm willing to overlook its few shortcomings with the sheath and the little bit shorter handle than I'm used to for all the capabilities I believe that this knife offers. Well, folks, ultimately, I hope this review has helped you out with your purchasing decisions and shown you what is being offered by H&K in collaboration with Benchmade, and shown you a blade that really hasn't gotten any love on YouTube at this point, and I really hope begins to see some more love. I would hate to see this blade discontinued. I think it has a lot to offer. So as always, guys, thank you so much for checking out the channel. Please subscribe, comment, like, share this video. Check us out on all the relevant social media. Links are in the description below. That's always a great way to see what's up and coming and what's coming down the line here at the channel. And always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. We'll see you out there.